Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Hello, Marsha.
Hi, Kelly. Hi.
How's your day?
How's it going?
Good.
We sound awkward, don't we? My day is good. I just got back from walking Enzo, and we've had some snow, so it's a little slick out there. I don't know snow in the rest of the world or the country, but here, it tends to it snows, but we have a really wet snow, and then it freezes, and then as people walk on it, and during the day it kind of melts a little bit, and then it freezes again. So I have to be a little careful when I walk him to try and walk on the sunny side of the street where the sidewalks are bare. Otherwise, not that compacted snow, because it really is just a sheet of ice. So anyway,
I remember learning the hard way in college that when you walk in snow, you can't have your hands in your pockets.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I was thinking of that. It crossed my mind yesterday when I was walking Enzo, and we had a bit more snow yesterday. And there was a woman walking with a baby in one of those front pouches, those baby Bjorns or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, wow, what if you went down with
that
the
sounds
baby?
Dangerous, yeah.
I know, it made me really worried, but yeah, so we have snow. We didn't have very much. I would sort of like to have just a real good dumping of snow where you get 12 inches and you just are sitting in your house and there's no reason to go out. You're like,
right.
Oh, I can't go out. Oh, look at that.
And
I can't go out.
And no one can come to see you either.
Yeah. Oh, look, no one can come see me.
My whole day is free. It's all mine. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had a big dumping of rain over the last over the last week or so. There's been a couple of different days with really nice heavy rain, which is great. And then winds that I don't really appreciate. But the good thing is there was a branch from the last windstorm that broke, but was just laying on top of another branch way up in one of our trees. And it managed to come down, which when I got home and I saw it, I said to Robert, it didn't do as much damage as I thought it would do coming down. And he said, that's because it just slid off the branch that it was leaning on because of the wind and just fell straight down. But I thought it was going to break the branch that it was leaning on. And then they'd both come down, and on the way they would break other branches. But it just kind of slid down heavy side first. And so, good thing no one was underneath it. They would have been impaled by the broken branch, but that's kind of the way it slid down, and it didn't really harm any other branches on the tree. So that was good.
Well, I did lose a branch out in front, my big cedar tree. And I went out there. It was interesting because yesterday morning, I went out about 6 a.m. to air Enzo and came back in. And then about 10, took him out for a walk, and this huge branch had come down, was on the parking strip. So I can't, it's so heavy. I can't, I was able to slide it a little bit off the sidewalk onto the parking strip, but I can't move it any further. So hopefully tomorrow, I have a small chainsaw. I'll go out there and see if I can cut it up tomorrow, so and get it off of there. But there's, it's such a dense tree. I looked up there and I can't see where the branch came from. So, which I guess is good, right? So it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. I'm going to set this down. So our last episode, you were talking about your free yard sale, and then we were laughing about you were going to take the leftover, what to do with the books that that people didn't take, and what to do with them, and that you were walking around and putting them in the little free libraries, or you were thinking about doing that, I think.
Yes.
And I was telling Kim, and I had dinner, and I was telling her about that, and she said, "Oh yes, that she's been doing that because her father, he was he wrote histories, and so she has all these books, and she can't get rid of them. And so when she takes her dog for a walk, she goes around and she puts copies of his book in the little free libraries."
Nice.
So funny. Yeah. So somebody's doing that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I haven't resorted to that yet. We got rained out on our second weekend of the yard non-sale, and so we're going to do it again a little bit later with the rest of the books. But I should take some. There are some of them that probably would do well in the little free libraries, and then there's of course the others. A lot of them are travel books, so like is it Fodor's or whatever travel guides, and some of those travel guides are from like 1998, 2002, or actually earlier than that, because his mother passed away in 1998, so they would have been like 1995 or 97. And so they really don't. I don't think they actually have much value. So it's just a matter of putting them in the sorting through and deciding which ones go in the recycling and which ones are worth still putting out. But anyway. Yeah, we got rained out the second weekend, which is fine. We got everything out on that Saturday. It was freezing cold. We put everything out on the front lawn, and then it started to rain, and we quickly packed everything back up because it didn't show rain in the forecast, but it rained. So,
but so now, are you going to do it again, or are you done? Now you're just going to take the stuff to the thrift store.
I think we'll probably do it again. But we're going to wait a while till the weather's a little bit better, more consistent and not as cold. So there's more people out and about. I was going to say, you may not want to do this idea that I have, but you might do something, in the spring or summer when the weather's better, take a look, but then contact your colleagues in the campus if they have anything they want to, just give away. Yeah. They can just drop it by, Right. That gets complicated because if it's not gone, are they going to come pick it up? There's more for, all that stuff. So you got enough of your own crap. No, but that might be kind of good. Like the D-stash room, they have to take it back if it doesn't go. And it's not going to be I'm not going to manage any money. It's just going to be stuff it all has really to be free. Want to have go. So, but that's probably a good idea, because then it would, if we have a little bit more out there, it's a little more attractive. A lot of people that first day, that Saturday that we had to pack it up in the rain, during the first hour, we had a few people kind of slow down and look and then keep going, because really all that was left on that day was. The majority of what was left was boxes of books. So, need a little something more to entice people to stop. Okay, well, I'm ready to hear about your projects.
I don't really have that much to report. So, I'm sitting here and I got my needle fixed. So, I'm now knitting again on my Graphito. So, last time I don't remember now where I was the last time, but I finished the first sleeve, and I am about 4 inches from starting the ribbing on the second sleeve.
Wow, you're almost done.
So it's not a race or a competition, Kelly, but I'm going to win. So
spoiler alert. Yes, you are.
Yeah, right. And I have to say, I really have enjoyed this project, but I am ready. I think this is true of all projects. When you're getting so close to the end, you're just kind of ready for it to be done. So I've been working on it at night just because I kind of would like to get it done, because I'm going down, Kim and I are going down to the Oregon coast February 20th for, I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 nights, I believe. And so I kind of want to have a different project when I go down there. So, which I will before I before I mention my other projects, I will say my next project that I'm going to cast on, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and about 11,000 people have made this project, but I'm going to make The Weekender by Andrea Mowry.
Mm-hmm.
I have a whole bunch of Cascade 220 in a colorway called Wine. So it's kind of a really, it looks like a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cabernet Sauvignon is red, and or Pinot Noir or something, or Merlot. It looks like a glass of red wine. So I think I'm going to make that, and it should go pretty quickly because I've done a swatch. You're supposed to use size 9 for the body. I've done a swatch in 9 and 8 to see which one. I have not measured for gauge yet, but those are pretty good size needles, so it should go pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. And that'll be a nice change from a fingering weight sweater.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then I as I say, I should take that. I've done nothing with my Ames Beanie, but I'm going to take that with me, and so that'll be good. At the beach, I can just finish that and fix my miscrossed cable and just finish that hat because I'm so close. I was ready to start the decreases, right, for the top of it.
You might do better to just rip it back to before the cable crossing, and you would have been done with it already.
I know. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes,
I'm only pointing it out because of my little update later.
Oh, okay, all right. Anyway, and then we have to talk about weaving. And I did, when I walked Enzo today, I re-listened to the last episode, so I would not do a lot of repeating. But I will say the one thing I was having problems with is in the last episode, I was talking about how the break kept falling off. And you sent me some information to make sure I had put it together correctly, and I had. But I had some knitter friends over for lunch on Tuesday, and our friend Kelly, who lives on Vashon Island, she brought her friend Lisa, and they went down into the basement to look at the loom, and Lisa figured out my problem. And Kelly, I don't remember the name of it, but we talked about it this morning, but it's the screw. What do you call that screw?
Turnbuckle.
Turnbuckle. There's a turnbuckle, and that was not tight enough. And so we just tightened it up, and it works great. So I am very appreciative of that. And then, but I will say the weaving, I'm learning a lot. And so my lesson learned now is, first of all, when I listened to the last episode, I really have corrected a lot of things by not changing the tie-up, but just adjusting the tie-ups. So one of the things I noticed is, so if I had tied up shaft 1 and 3, if I did not have them evenly on there, one was tighter and one was looser. You'd push down the loose one, but then the tighter one would be too high up then.
Yeah.
So I had to adjust everything so that they're all level. So a little bit of adjusting. And now I'm not having that problem that I was talking about the last time where when I push down on a treadle and it would raise the heddles, the ones that are not raising were not supposed to raise would also raise up off the, okay, I had my problem just now. My earbud just popped out. I'm going to interrupt what I'm saying is that to let listeners know that when we were recording, I was having a hard time getting through recording an episode because my ear pods would not hold the charge. And the second one is falling out now too. And Kelly, one day you texted me and said, "Go check your front porch because you sent me earbuds." But they're taking a bit of getting used to because they want to pop out of my ears. And just before we started recording, I put in the smaller, what do you call that? The little rubber gasket that holds it in your ear. And but they still want to fall out. So anyway, both of them just fell out. And so when I push down on the treadle and the shafts go up, the shafts that are not supposed to go up are not going up. Good. So the warp is staying flat on the beater. So I've solved that problem. That was what I was having the last time. And then, but the other thing I learned, and Kelly, you and we've had many conversations in the evening, like 1.5 hour long conversations about this. But what I've learned this time is I'm supposed to make 4 towels, and they're supposed to be finished length about 29 inches. They're just checks, variations on checks. So I'm just doing 4 picks of blue, 4 picks of white, 4 picks of blue, all the way through. But the pattern instructed me to measure, or not to measure, but to count how many repeats. So a repeat is 4 picks of blue, 4 picks of white, and just repeat that 64 times.
Oh my God.
And I'm supposed to have, yes. And so I've been counting.
Oh my God.
And then I thought, God, this seems really long. And so I thought, oh, maybe I should actually measure my picks per inch. And everybody, all the weavers out there are just like, oh my God, they know where this is going. So I measured my picks per inch, and I should have 20, and I'm getting 16. So I really don't know how I would get 20, because it seems like I'm packing them in there pretty well, but apparently I'm not, because as you pointed out, looking at the photograph I sent you of my work, is my squares are actually more rectangular shaped of this check pattern. So you made the comment that, and it'll probably look fine when it's done, but you made the comment, if you have a check pattern or a really small repeat like this, it's better, instead of counting the repeats, it's probably better just to measure it.
Yeah. Well, and
in general, there's always going to be exceptions. But.
Yeah. That's just my normal. I mean, thinking about the way people write patterns. And it's the same way in knitting too. But if I have a choice between counting and measuring, okay, I'm a math teacher. I am not good at counting. I am terrible at counting. So if I have a choice between counting and measuring, I measure. And, we've talked about measuring when you don't have the right row gauge for knitting.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Yes. It's really the same thing in weaving, to use measuring instead of counting if you don't have the right picks per inch. And then also, this is just something that I have gleaned from the listening to some of the Jane Stafford episodes. She has a tendency to comment about how some of the patterns that she reads or sees have the picks per inch being too much for the set. And what happens is, if you want more picks per inch, you can pound harder, right? Or pack them in tighter. But you also, sometimes it helps to make your set a little bit looser. So instead of 20 ends per inch, slay the reed at 18 ends per inch, because that gives more room for them to slide in. And then 18 ends per inch and 18 picks per inch might be more of a square than you can get with 20 ends per inch. So it's interesting to me, these comments that she's made over several different episodes, where she's made these comments because I find it hard always to get the yarn gauge, or to get the gauge that I need with the needles that I have. And I also, when I'm knitting, and I also find that sometimes when I do get the gauge that the pattern calls for, the fabric doesn't feel the way I want it to feel.
Right.
And I think it's the same in weaving. Like, some people want the fabric to be more firm feeling, and so that's how they write their patterns. And some people want the fabric to be looser. And she's always giving examples of what happens when you loosen up the set, and how drapey the fabric is, or how beautiful, how much more hand the fabric has when it has a looser set. And anyway, I think it's interesting, both in knitting and in weaving, that people have different ideas about what the gauge what the right fabric feels, what is the right feel for the fabric.
Right.
I'm not sure I'm saying that exactly clearly, but it's like, which fabric do you like best? And then, make your decision. And when people write a pattern, that's what they do, right? They try different things till they get the feel they like, but it might not be what will work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you needed to do anything differently. Getting 16 picks per inch on those towels. I mean, I looked at the pictures and as you went, your first checks, the squares were more elongated. They were actually more like rectangles, but the later ones, they got to be more square looking.
And they still were not, were not even close to 20 picks per inch.
I have a feeling that just like knitting gauge, I think you'll find like you can never get it. Like I can never get gauge with the needle that they call for because I'm a tight knitter. Mm-hmm. And my aunt can never get gauge with the needle that they call for because she's a very loose knitter. And so you have to kind of, eventually you kind of learn that about yourself.
So there's no way of knowing this until you actually start weaving, though.
Sampling, right? Swatching. I mean, there's yarn charts, that tell you with this yarn, this is what you should be able to get. Jane Stafford has a set chart where she talks about, the ends per inch and picks per inch that you can get with certain types of yarn. But it's really also kind of individual. Mm-hmm.
Well, yes. I mean, I know the knitting is individual. But I think I didn't want to just we talked about in the last episode about throwing the shuttle, and you said it's not really it's like kind of a bit of a is that misnomer? Yeah. It's like not really.
It's more like a
way
slide, I guess I would say.
Right,
and not like a vigorous slide.
Right. Yeah, and I think that maybe beading too might be an incorrect description of what you're doing because because maybe you don't want to beat it really aggressively, right? I mean, I don't know how hard you're supposed to beat it. I will say too, part of the reason why I couldn't beat it really hard is if I did, the break would fall apart.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was also kind of stopped me. And it would disengage in the whole. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just learning.
She talks about the beading too, that it's more like placing the yarn into its position and you want that negative space between the threads. Mm-hmm. And I do think that she has more of a tendency to like that kind of fabric. Right? The looser fabric is more her preference, whereas other people would like a fabric that's a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
One of the things that I realized early on, like in the first couple of years of taking the class, is that the things that I liked better were the things that I didn't pack things in. Mm-hmm. It really depends on what you're making. Like I have the pride towels that I made, I used the warp doubled because I had thin yarn and I wanted to, I needed it to be doubled to work, but I only used the weft single because it was easier to wind on the bobbin. If I were to do them again, I would make them tighter. They're just not tightly packed enough. And so, nothing, you can't always get exactly what you wanted until hindsight, which that's why you do sample. That's why some people, not me, except for my trailer curtains. I did sample for the trailer curtains, but that's what sampling does, is it kind of gives you an idea of, do you like this fabric or do you like that fabric? But it's like nobody does a swatch for socks, right?
No.
Are you going to do a sample for dish towels that are just for you? Probably not.
Well, Kelly. Yeah. I'm just going to say something because you said nobody does a swatch for socks. Well, I bet some people do a swatch for socks, but we don't.
Yes, that's actually, you're right, Marsha, because when I say it that way, it makes it sound like I'm judging people who make a swatch for socks, and I am not judging. If making a swatch for socks is your jam, or you're making the kind of socks where you need to swatch, right? I mean, here, the person who's speaking right now is the person who, every time I made a pair of socks when I was first knitting, Robert would say to me, how long will it be before you can make a pair of socks and know what size they'll be before you're done?
Yes, because you would knit socks and then find out and then look for someone that they would fit.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I have no business saying anything bad about swatching for socks. Oh goodness. Well, so your towels. You're on your second towel, third towel.
I'm on my second towel because I've not. I've been busy doing other things.
Yeah.
I've had other stuff.
That's a lot. That's a lot of weaving. I was surprised.
But I will say, and now it took a while. It does take time to put the warp on the loom, and I think even I'm not proficient at it at this point because this is like the third warp I put on my own, and it's like been a year in between all of those. But it takes a while, and I've been having to sort of adjust and fuss a bit, as we've had all these conversations about. But once you get that warp on there, man, it goes fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I did 2 hours, 2 days in a row, and I did the first towel and then went on to the second one. So, I mean, it goes, and that's with me, still trying to figure out how to quote unquote throw the shuttle and having to pull it out through the warp and picking it up off the floor and all this stuff. So,
and putting your brake band back on.
Put my brake band back together and all this stuff. So the actual process of weaving goes really quite fast.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I have, and Kelly, you and I, as you know, we've had these long conversations about my first towel is going to be well beyond 29 inches because because of my picks per inch being so off. So now I'm almost done. I think I put in, as I recall, I think I've done 50 repeats of the check pattern, the second check pattern, on the second towel. And our discussion was maybe put in 10 more and just put in like 60 and stop. And then, change the tie up and do the next pattern, but make it a bit shorter or something, or see if I can get that much out. And then my last one, I'm not going to get a full towel out of it. So I think I'll get 3 full towels, one that's way too long, 2 that are better, and then one that is just going to be maybe square or something. Yeah. And then we were talking about you just put it in the bread basket or something, or, it's like, as I said, this kit was not terribly expensive. I think it was $27 for this kit. So, and it's just, I think it's fantastic. What I've learned so much just between this project and the other project I did. I've learned a lot. So,
well, and I've learned a lot too, because the experience of having a kit is so different from the way that I weave for the most part. Right. And so it's like, I didn't even think to talk to you about picks per inch because I just weave to the measurement as opposed to the number of repeats, because I just hate counting stuff. And so that's, I rarely use, if I use a pattern like from hand woven or something, usually I'm using it for the draft and the tie up, but I won't necessarily use their, length of towel or how many repeats they say, because I know what size I like my dish towels. And so that's what I typically will do. And so, there's things to think about that I don't typically think about. Oh, and there's something else I wanted to say. Picks per inch also, when you're changing tie-ups, and so you're changing weave structures, some weave structures can slide in more easily than others. Right.
Oh, okay.
So it might be easier to get 20 picks per inch on one of those 4 weave structures than it is on the others. It's not uniform.
Okay.
It's kind of like knitting, right? Your row gauge might change depending on whether you're doing garter stitch or stockinette or moss stitch or whatever.
Cables.
Yeah, so that's another
that makes sense.
That's another thing when you're mixing it up within one warp. You might be able to get that 20 picks per inch on one of the structures, but not get it on one of the others.
So I don't regret buying this and doing the kit at all.
No, I think it's a great idea.
But what I'm going to say is, like, I don't regret it, but I think I actually have one more kit that I bought when I had the other loom. The other loom, I could not change the tie up, and I need to be able to change the tie up to do this other kit I have, because it's like a waffle weave or something. And
I think it needs 6 treadles. I think the waffle weave one needed 6 treadles, and you only had 4. And I mean, you can figure it out, but yeah, that would have been a pretty advanced thing to have you.
Yeah, so it's still, so I will do that kit. I will do it at some point. But what I want to say is kind of what my learning is about the kits too, is I really think you can just look at a weave structure book, and you can just design your own towel and just say, I want to use this. Is that correct? Is that what I want to say? Weave structure is, and I know, and I really think, I'm glad I've done this process, but now I think going the next set, I'm just going to design my own. I think it's, and then with the worksheet that we have on the, on our page about the worksheet to, like, if you want the towels this wide and this long, and and you have the mat, it gives you all the formulas for figuring out the yardage. And I really think I have one, weave structure book that I got. I think I got it at the Seattle Weavers Guild, their book sale. And then I ordered, as you know, Kelly, we talked about this, but I ordered the Marguerite Porter Davison book. And I ordered that. And so I really think just looking at that, you could just design your own towel, just sketch it out and figure out your measurements, what you want. I think now I could do that. And I think that's what my next set's going to be. I'll just figure it out. I'll just design my own.
I like to go through that book and find a structure where there's several different, find a draft, a threading where there's several different structures depending on the tie-up, so that I can play around, and maybe do one towel of each, or just see if I like it. Do a little bit of one structure and see if I like it, then do a little bit of the next structure, and have maybe one towel that's a sample of all of them, and then pick the ones I like the best to then do for the others. The only I will say there's a drawback to that, and that not all weave structures lend themselves to being absorbent. You know what I mean? And being real, to being the perfect towel structure. But that, again, that's another, there's another learning experience.
Personal choice.
They all dry your dishes. Just some of them dry your dishes a little faster than others.
Yeah, really. Anyway, it's again, I reiterate, if Tamara listens, remember I saying in the last episode, if she listens, it really is fun. Don't be afraid. It really is fun. Don't let this conversation put you off. It's super fun. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So I think that's it for projects. I still have the weaving studio on here. It's my work in progress. And as I say, I've done nothing down there. I still have stuff I need to clear out. But as I sit down there, I start thinking about the things that I need.
Yeah. You have started a little bit because you're working on getting a loom bench.
Yes. And so right now, I'm just sitting on a stool. And it's not bad. It's not horrible, but it would be nice to have a loom bench. So I put an ad in the, an ask ad in the Seattle Weavers Guild newsletter. If anybody had a loom bench that they no longer needed. So and also I was interested in shuttles for weaving rag rugs. So anyway, I found somebody and we've been in contact, and I'm hoping to go next week to take a look at that bench, and hopefully it'll work. And I'm excited about getting the shuttles for the rag rugs. I will say I watched a video about weaving rag rugs. One of them is so I have a jack loom. So which what I was talking about, when you push down the treadle, the shafts go up and the others stay down. And is it counter march? Is that the one where when you push down on the treadle, the ones they go up, and the ones that on my loom that stay just flat and down, don't move at all, they actually are pulled down?
Yeah.
Is that counter march? And so they were saying that's actually better for weaving rugs because you create a larger shed.
That's
so I don't know.
That's a whole controversy, like whether you should knit your socks toe up or cuff down or.
Are you telling me, Kelly, there's no hobby that doesn't have controversy?
That's right.
I can't escape it.
That's right. Wooden needles or metal.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if my next project is going to be those rag rugs, but I think I should do another set of towels first. Is kind of what I think I want to do. And then but I'm really intrigued by these rag rugs.
Yeah.
I have no idea why, but I'm just so kind of interested in them.
Well, cool.
So that's in the works. Okay. Enough of my stuff. How about your projects? What's going on? I know a little bit because we've had, as I say this week, we've had these hour-and-a-half long conversations.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm gonna because we do have knitters in the group who don't weave. I'm gonna move us off weaving for a moment to talk about my knitting of Graphito. And
yes,
so I have a bad habit while I'm knitting, and it's never really come back to bite me before. But I have a bad habit of stopping in the middle. And sometimes I stop in the middle of a stitch, right? So I'll pick up my knitting and I haven't even pulled the stitch off the needle, right? I've knit it, but I haven't pulled it off. And I, sometimes I just toss it down and stitches come off. The needles, I drop stitches. And, it's not a big deal. And Betty has a heart attack every time when she's talking to me about her knitting, and then I reach out to get it because she knows that I'm likely to drop one of her stitches. And then I can put it back on, right? I mean, just when I take it from her or whatever. But she's like, don't drop my stitches. Yeah.
It's hard for her to do it,
She has a harder
put it back on.
She has a harder time putting them back on because of her arthritis, and also she's just more wary of dropping a stitch. Like that's when she was taught to knit, that was a big deal. You always make sure that everything's tidy in the end, and you don't like hand your knitting over to someone without making sure that no stitch is going to pop off. And I just have
She's not careless. She's just not careless, right?
Yes.
Like we are. Okay, anyway.
I'm very that's a very good way to describe it. I'm very careless. So I'm knitting on Graphito. I finally put it on. I put the try-it-on tubing on it. I tried it on. It's definitely not long enough. So I need to do one more of the repeats where you do the double tuck stitch, which is kind of like one row. It's like 3 rows. I haven't ever done true brioche except a little bit of it at the beginning, but it looks like it's like the 3 rows of brioche, and that's all you do. And then you just go back to stockinette. So that's good. I've tried it on. I know what I need to do. I'm going to do this little row of brioche, and then I'm going to keep knitting. And I decided I'm going to make it the same length as this other sweater I have. So now once I do this little color work piece, I'll just knit until I get to the right length, and then I'll make the ribbing. So all's good. And we decide last Saturday that we're going to go to visit my mom, and we're going to pick up tacos at Las Vegas Taqueria in Milpitas, and then we're going to continue up to Fremont and have lunch with them. So that's what we do. So I'm knitting all the way. I'm getting a lot done. I get all those 3 rows done. I get onto the row that's just the stockinette. Maybe I'm 2 rows up from the stockinette. I think people are kind of getting the idea where this is going. Robert, we've been there before, but all of a sudden Robert's like, wait, I must have missed it. I'm like, okay, well, turn around, and so he's kind of a little nervous because it's taking longer than he thought. So there's a little bit of like tension in the truck, right? And it's raining. And so he sees it and he pulls into the parking lot, which is busy. And he says to me, okay, here's the money. Get out. I'm going to go park. And so there's like, do this fast, because he's right in the middle of the driveway. So you have to throw your knitting down, right? So I throw my knitting down, and that's probably exactly what it was. I throw my knitting down, grab the money, hop out of the truck, and go in to order while he goes and parks the truck. I don't know why I did that. I could have very easily taken a minute to organize my knitting. If anyone was coming behind him in the driveway, they would have just known he was there. Maybe they would have honked at us. So what? Right?
You'll never see them again.
That's right. But I'm like, okay. And I toss my knitting on the bottom of the truck. Go in and get my stuff. Come out and pick it up and realize that a couple of stitches have dropped. Okay, no problem. I'm going to put them back in. And then he goes over a bump and...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be laughing, but I kind of have a sense and I feel your pain. Anyway, continue.
Yes. So now, not only my 2 rows of stockinette have been, like 2 stitches have been dropped all the way down in the 2 rows of stockinette, but they've now dropped past that brioche row. And I cannot get them back because I cannot reconstruct that. And I should be able to do it. But I finally just decided, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to rip it back and start again. I'm just going to, I think I'll just, I'm just going to rip it back and start and do that again. Because it's like, how long am I going to try to figure out how I get this brioche back? Meanwhile, as I do it, more brioche stitches are in danger of falling off the needle. Like, I'm making the problem worse instead of better. Like, at a certain point, you cut your losses and you stop trying to repair a section of knitting and you just take the whole thing. So that's where I am on Graphito.
Okay, I have something I'm going to say to you. Robert has to be instructed that if he at any point in the trip you need to leap out of the truck. He needs to give you a 15-minute warning, or at least a 10-minute warning before you have to leap out of the truck.
Even a 3-minute warning would have worked.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my own fault.
You might even be able to do with a 2-minute or a 1-minute warning or something. I don't know.
It's my own fault. I could have taken 30 seconds to secure my knitting, but I'm a careless person.
Yeah, really? Sorry. Yes. Careless and irresponsible knitter.
I am a very careless and irresponsible knitter. So I'm paying the price by having to rip back about. It's only 5 rows. I think it's 5 rows. It's not that big of a deal in the whole scheme of things. It's not that big of a deal. But I had just started making forward progress. And now
I will tell you on this. So I'm now, like, the sleeve has it's going to have 4 bands of that brioche stitch, whatever you call it. And I've done 3 of them. The third one, and I've knit maybe 2 inches past it, but that third one I had done because I think what you do is, like, with your contrasting color, you knit one, then you pull the yarn forward and slip one, and then knit one, slip one with that. And every time you slip a stitch, the yarn is in the front. And then you do that a second time with and knit the knit stitches and slip the slip stitches. And then you go with your main color and you just knit all those stitches. And so I now understand the stitch structure. However, this last one, something happened. And, I know, I could not, they were not aligning because I had knit two not together, but what I'm saying, in sequence. And so it threw off the whole thing. I could not figure. But as I was trying to figure it out, I started dropping stitches. And I did kind of the same thing as I thought. I have to just take out the 2 rows.
Yeah.
And just start again. Because also I find, and this is too much information and too much talking about this sweater for our listeners, but I'm doing, the sleeves, you have to do them either magic loop or double pointed needles, right? Because it's so small. And at that point where the double, the ends of the double pointed needles are, it either has to be a knit stitch or your first stitch on the needle has to be either a knit stitch or it has to be the yarn over and slip, where you slip the stitch. And it's very confusing. And so sometimes when you'll drop that yarn over, you'll slip the stitch, but the yarn over will drop. And so the whole thing, I have to just take it out. It's not that I hadn't even finished the second row of that stitch pattern. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not a complicated stitch. No. But it's really hard if you've dropped them to get those yarn overs on the correct side of the needle, the correct side of the stitch. And so I totally understand.
Yes.
It's better to cut your losses and just rip the whole thing back and start over again.
Yeah. I've already spent enough time. Trying to get them back. Yeah. It's going to be throwing bad time after. What is it? Throwing good money after bad. It's going to be throwing good time after bad. Yeah. If I keep trying it, I don't think it's going to. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to get a better result. So yeah, I do really like this pattern, and I like that stitch. I think it's fun. It's a really fun stitch. Just don't drop it.
I really like it, and the section so these are just I guess these are just little dots of brioche stitch, but then further up there's the brioche where it actually makes the stripes. It's only an inch long, I think. Yeah, I think that's very cool looking.
I like the way it looks
to have a hat out of that or a cowl, and I like the feel of it. It's kind of springy. So I could see doing a hat or something. I can't wrap my head around how they do the brioche where the stitches go in different directions. It forms
I know.
Vines. I don't know about that, but anyway.
Yeah. It sounds like a fun challenge if you're up for a challenge, but for right now, just doing this one row in a sea of stockinette is a challenge enough for me.
Yes. Funny.
So that's where I am with my sweater. That's all my knitting. I don't have another knitting project.
Okay.
My February challenge, I'm just going to call it a fail. The class that I'm teaching is taking up a lot of my time, and I'm trying to get it right. It's an overload. I mean, when you have an overload, you work more than your normal hours per week. And so I have an overload, and I'm working more than my normal hours per week. And so I'm not having an easy time getting my mileage in. And what are we, 7 days into February, the first week of February, my February challenge, the first week is not successful at all. I think I'm going to change the challenge so that I can not fail the whole month. Because I prefer...
You want to set yourself up for success. Yes. You want to set yourself up, yeah.
Yes. So I think I'm going to change my challenge to be something more along the lines of integrating walking throughout my day. So take a break during, if I need to get up to go to the bathroom, maybe I walk to a different building to do that. Or if I wanted to, email somebody maybe I instead walk over to their office and see if they're there first, and maybe I can talk to them in person. And so I think I'm going to have to be more clear with myself about what that goal is. But, my phone keeps track of that during the day. And so I do have mileage that's just, the daily walking. And so I think I'm going to, instead of saying I'm going to go for a walk and get 15 miles by going for walks. Yeah. Because that didn't include my, in the middle of the day walking. I think my February challenge is going to be to incorporate more walking into my actual day as opposed to taking the dogs out, those kinds of walks. Because I'm not finding the time because I'm devoting time to the class that I'm teaching. Yeah. Which I'm enjoying.
You could also, you walk to and from work. Maybe you could vary your route home and take a longer route home too.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Walk home around the block or something. Go around the backside of the block and come. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I think those things are going to be my goal for February. So I'm going to have to redo that. And then I had said I was going to do some craft thing 5 days out of 7, and that has not happened. I wove last weekend, but I haven't done anything during the week, and it's Friday already. So anyway, I have to reevaluate. But that's the nice thing about having my goal be just for each week of a month, is that I can reevaluate and not just say, oh, well, my New Year's resolutions are blown. And it's only February.
Yeah.
I'm a failure and that's all. I'm just done, So it's like, okay, well, February didn't go so well in the first week. Let's reevaluate and do something different that's a little more realistic and go from there. So
no, I was just going to say I have not been very good about my commitment to a fiber day. Now I
don't think that's true.
Well, let me rephrase that. It's not ending up being Tuesdays. Because a lot of times there's something that has to happen on a Tuesday, or the only day I can do that thing is on a Tuesday. So what I've been doing is I've been switching my fiber days. So this week it's going to be Friday. Tomorrow. Oh, no, wait a minute. This is Friday.
It's
not going to be today. No, it'll either be Saturday or Sunday because I have both days free.
Oh, that's good.
I have both days free. So far, I don't have anybody coming to dinner. If they do, I have stuff that's easy to do. So that's my plan, is to do that. And then the other thing, I'm going to the gym, and I've not been good. I will say about the gym, and part of it is, for example, today, the class today is from 9:30 to 10:30. But then I have to come home, and I have to, I need a shower. I need to walk the dog. And then today, because Kelly knows this, the dog had a shocking accident on the, I'll explain that, but on the carpet. So I had to then get the carpet. I didn't want the carpet sitting for another week. So I had to get it to the rug cleaner today. And then we were recording at 1. So there wasn't time to walk the dog, have something to eat before we record. So the gym fell by the wayside. And then the snow, the day it was crazy snowing. So I didn't go to the gym. I was sort of hesitant to drive over there because between my house and the gym, there's a huge hill I have to go up and down. I don't know. Like it's just the gym thing. And then, there's a class, and also I think people will understand this too. There's the class that I kind of like to go to on Saturdays is at 8:00. And I have to say, the last Saturday, it was so cold. It was not snowing, but it was so cold. I'm laying there in bed. I actually set my alarm so I would get up and get to that 8:00 class. And then it's 7:30. And I thought, I can't go, man. I cannot get out of my bed. I can't, I can't go. I can't even get in the car and go there. It's just too much. So I don't know. It'll work out. I'm busy every day. I walk the dog every day. But it's hard to set I'm finding it really hard to set new patterns.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And
no, that's exactly
like,
it. The new habit. Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. My brother goes to the gym every day. He's not taking a class, so he just uses the machines. I'm not doing machines. I'm just taking this class. But I also find, and I'm not blaming the dog, but I also he has to be walked. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, if I don't have anything happening the rest of the day, it's okay. But sometimes it's difficult to go to the gym, come back, get cleaned up, walk the dog before the next, like today. It's a little, I just know I'm not going to be able to fit it all in. So, no, I will just tell people because we have to get back to what you were talking about. But the dog has never peed in the house except maybe when he was a puppy and I wasn't paying attention when we were at that beginning of that housebreaking. And I go down the basement and I come around the corner and he's in the utility side of the basement on my Turkish handmade carpet, peeing, lifting his leg up in the air and peeing. And I texted you last night, what? Like, I was shocked. He's completely reliable in the house. I was just shocked. I really could not figure out, unless our discussion was maybe because of all the snow and they're so funny about having to sniff to find the right place. Maybe that was what it was. But anyway, but he's going to have to do some work to pay for that carpet cleaning. It's very expensive. Anyway. Okay. But I interrupted. I went on a thing. Let's get back to your projects. You're about your February challenge.
Well, I'm going to restart it and I haven't decided exactly how. But what I do want to talk about, the last part I want to talk about is the new loom. The loom that I was talking about the last 2 episodes that Terry had here in Salinas. Well, after the last episode, I went over to look at it and decided to bring it home. So I have a new loom. It's 45 inches, so it's wider than the loom I have. What I decided was I'm going to get it and I'm going to weave on it, and that will give me information. I may like it better than the one I have, in which case I might swap it out, or at least I'll know how it works, and I can talk to the next person who might want it about how it weaves. Because that is one of the things when you're getting a loom from someone who doesn't weave and the loom hasn't been used in years, you kind of don't know, right? So I brought it home. I am beginning to think that it's a home-built loom using Maycomber parts. It looks a lot like the one I have in the big one. The treadling system looks a lot like the one that I have in the garage, the 60-inch Maycomber. It looks a lot like that. Some of the pieces on it look like that, but there's other things that don't. And there's like these side pieces that I've never seen that shape on a loom. And I've looked at a lot of pictures since I brought it home. So I'm beginning to think that it was rebuilt from Maycomber parts. Okay. And so it looks like it has everything. I've washed it. I've washed half of it, and I still need to turn it around and wash the back half. So I'm, getting to see like what's there, how's it working. Some of it you can kind of tell that it was. You can see the pieces that were made. Like you can see the marks, the like saw marks or blade marks or whatever. I figured out how the harnesses work, because they are not the metal harnesses that the Maycomber has. So it's been really fun, and it's missing. It was missing a back apron, and the front apron was soiled. So I cut that off, and I had looked online and seen people talking about using Texsolve cord instead of an apron. And so I think I might try that. I think I might use that and see how that is to weave. If anybody has any knowledge about pros and cons of that, let me know. I can also buy new harnesses, or not harnesses, buy new aprons for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't decided which of those things I'm going to do. And then there's one bracket, Robert calls it a hinge, that allows the back beam. It connects the back beam to the castle, and it allows the back beam to be folded up closer to the castle. So on one side, it has this hinged bracket, and on the other side, the hinged bracket is missing. So I'll have to figure out something for that. But I'm excited. It looks like a really solid little loom, and the treadles seem real nice to use. They're back hinged treadles rather than front hinge treadles. So I'm kind of learning. I never really thought about all the differences between looms before. Mm-hmm. I mean, I used a lot of different looms when I was in the class at the college, but I didn't really notice how they were all different. I just wove on them,
Right.
I didn't pay that much attention.
Right.
So this one has back hinge treadles, which is really kind of nice because you're, I don't know, it seems like your feet, you have better leverage. Like you can, it's easier to push down the treadle. And I thought, this is kind of nice. So anyway, I'm in the process of, cleaning it, figuring it out. I'm really tempted to want to make it pretty instead of just get it ready to weave. And I think I really need to decide how well it weaves first.
Yes.
Because if I don't like the way it weaves, I don't know that I want to spend a lot of time, deciding on what kind of stain to use and putting a coat of oil on, coat of wax on it, all that kind of stuff. But that's, those are the fun things. Those are the fun things. And I kind of want to do that. But what I have to do is get the missing parts and get a warp on it and weave with it and see if it's going to be 45 inches is surprisingly wide. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing that I thought, with my height, I was attracted to having a 45-inch loom, but I might not really like weaving 45 inches. So we'll see about that. Those are the things that I'm going to have to evaluate as I work with it. But I think it's going to. I actually think it's going to be a nice little loom.
So I have a question. I mean, if you decide to order aprons for it, you're able to do that. Mm-hmm. But this that, as Robert you said, calls it the hinge, but that bar that holds the back beam to the castle. Mm-hmm. Can you order that, or are you going to have someone make that for you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything like that.
Can you weave? Okay. Can you weave without it? I mean, because don't you need to have the back beam supported?
Yeah, I need to figure out something that would some kind of bracket that would hold it. I don't think that would be so hard. I think it might be difficult to find one that exactly matches the other side and hinges the way it does. But that doesn't matter as long as once it's open, I can secure it. I have something. There's 2 holes. I just need something that I can put in between the 2 parts and hold that back beam at the right. And I don't think that will be too hard to figure out. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I'll let you know. I'll stay tuned. Yeah. Because my Leclerc has just a 1-piece bracket that has like a notch in it. It has 2 notches in it. So you slide the notch over like a bolt, right? Or you pull it in and you slide the notch over. You slide a different notch over the bolt and pull that back beam in. So it's just a different configuration. And I'll have to go out and look at the one in the garage and see how that one, because it folds in too, and see what kind of bracket or hinge, it has. So, I'm going to have to figure a couple things out, but I don't think it'll be too hard to do. And I'm motivated to weave on it. So, well,
it's exciting.
Yeah.
And do you feel comfortable telling people how the woman you got it from, how she got it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. She, Terry got it from her kids, and I think it was her son, she said, found it on the street in Berkeley on the sidewalk. And so, so she did say that he was out often, or maybe, anyway, she did say that, he looked often at stuff that was out there and, thrifted stuff from the street. And so it wasn't out there on the sidewalk for very long, but it does have water spots. There really isn't any damage, but it does have water spots. So it was somewhere where it, was outdoors. It might not have been on the sidewalk for very long, but I don't think it was, I don't think it, wasn't like outside for years, but at some point it did get wet, and nothing is warped or, anything like that. So I think it's in good shape that way. It's just a little bit of like water staining.
Water stains, yeah. No, I think it's just so funny that it was,
found like on the street.
A stray found on the street that went to a good home. But the home's like, I can't, I'm not interested in weaving. Because isn't that right? She's not interested in weaving, really, right?
She's a knitter and a spinner. But she never really got the weaving, got the weaving bug. So
fever. It's a fever.
And honestly, it would be hard if you don't know anything about weaving. It would be really hard to take the loom and figure out what it was missing and get what was missing and get it fixed up. This project is actually advanced for me. Like, okay, how do I? And I'm excited about it because I think it's like a challenge. It's kind of like the next step in my understanding of how weaving works. Right, get this loom into shape to weave and weave with it. So it's kind of like people who want to spin getting a antique spinning wheel. I mean, that's a challenge. Right. People do it, but it's a challenge. So, anyway.
Well, I'm excited to see the progress on it and see how it what you decide to do, if you keep it or you don't keep it, or maybe you keep both of them. It's just space, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, it has helped me feel like I'm okay with getting rid of the 60-inch. And now it's just a matter of figuring out right now it wouldn't be easy to get it out because the trailer, the truck, the Mustang in the driveway, like all of the stuff of Robert's stuff, is in the way of getting it out of the garage. Not to say that he would not work really hard to make it so I could get it out if I had someone, because he really wants to get rid of it. But, it's a matter of figuring out how to get the word out and get it to a person, or, find someone who wants a loom that big, who is, close enough that it's reasonable for them to get it. I mean, that's the other issue.
Yeah.
It's not something that will be shipped for sure. It's really heavy. It's like moving a piano. I mean, it does come apart.
Surprised.
So,
yeah, I was surprised that the Harris fill was so lightweight that I could just push it around the room to vacuum under it, and it was also so lightweight that as you would beat, it would sort of move across the floor a little bit. But this Leclerc, whatever, it's very heavy. I can't move it by myself at all. So it makes vacuuming a bit of a challenge. But
yeah. I have mine on it's on the wood floor, and I have felt. I attached felt to the bottom of all the where it touches the ground. And so I can just slide it all around in the studio, but I don't have carpet, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I have carpet, so I don't know how I would do it. But anyway, it's where it is. I don't need to move it, so.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
Right.
Is that it for projects or?
Yeah, that's all. That's all I've got.
Okay. Okay. Well, just to say, we're just going to add here, our last thing is, I know, let me just say what I was going to say. The Winter Weave Along is still going on until March 31st. And you can show us projects in our Ravelry thread. And then, Kelly, you also have still in the notes here the 2025 challenge thread.
Yeah,
do you want to talk about that.
Yeah, that's going on. We have a thread in our Ravelry group, and anybody who's doing some kind of 2025 challenge is welcome to use it for accountability or cheerleading, or you want to show off that you actually are meeting your challenges, unlike me. Please come over and do it. Inspire, I should say. I should say it in a more positive way. Come over and inspire us with your success. That's
yes.
So yeah, we have that up, and there are a few people who have challenges that they're making progress on. Michelle is making progress on her Make 9, and Kathy is doing a handspun knitting with handspun challenge, and so there's a few different people on that thread. So join in. It's pretty fun. And then I have one other just a question, if people are still listening this long episode. Really. I'm just curious, and let us know either on our email, 2use@2usefiberadventures.com, or in the Ravelry group, message us. You can message me on Instagram or Marsha. But I'm just curious what kind of content people would like to hear. We've kind of gotten into a habit of just talking about our projects, and weaving has kind of taken over in a way, because Marsha's weaving and I'm weaving, and that's been a lot of our project talk.
We're in the middle of the weave along, yeah.
Yeah, and that's been a lot of our project talk. And we haven't had an episode in a long time where we had a topic that we, in addition to our projects, we actually talked about that topic. So if you have some topics that you'd like us to talk about or you'd like to hear about, that, we could do some research and come back and also talk about our own experiences on it. Let us know. Let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah. We need you to ask us questions, so we just don't ramble on about break bands and
right. Right. Yes.
How we're not meeting our challenges and anyway.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. All right, Marsha. Well, I'm gonna head out because I have a meeting coming up, and
yes. Okay. All right. We'll talk.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usefiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.